From KPRC2, this is Houston Newsmakers with Cambrell Marshall.
And welcome to Houston Newsmakers. I'm delighted to be joined by Dr. Laura Murillo, the president and CEO of the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and Dr. Jim Granado, the dean of the UH Hobby School of Public Affairs. Good to see you both again.
Happy to be here.
It's great to have you on here. And this is great because you have this partnership that's produced some amazing information that it looks like it's going to be very helpful. We'll talk more about what the Hobby School does because you guys are in all kinds of stuff. But the Greater Houston Partnership, the Greater Chamber, you have your big event this past week. This information is going to be really critical to your whole group and for all this region.
Absolutely.
Right?
We want to thank Dr. Jim and the entire team over at the University of Houston School of Public Affairs for working with us on this information that's provided to CEOs, executives, and others as they are planning to understand this market, the demographics, the data, the workforce opportunities, the call to action that we have to say, we are here. Hispanics are here. We are ready.
We've kind of known that for a while,
yes.
But now you have some of the information that he has, and that really kind of breaks it down quite a bit. How important is it when you have the minutia? You can really break down all these different characteristics of this community that is so diverse.
Yes.
Even, quote, Hispanic, there's so much to that word in that group.
There is, and I think there is a growing desire to understand this segment, this market, if you will, the opportunities it presents for workforce, the opportunity to identify people to serve on corporate boards, as executives, all of the great things that this young demographic in this great city provide to corporations, to businesses, and again, the opportunities that we have to serve as elected officials and in many capacities.
So, Dr. Granado, talk about the Hobby School, your mission, and I've seen a lot of polls from you, from your organization, but this is way above just a poll, but it's the same kind of research that goes into it?
Exactly. We specialize in data analysis, modeling, simulation, and this is just part of what we do is serving the community. And we have a partnership with Dr. Murillo, and we always want to help. But in addition, I want to mention some of the key takeaways. One is you're struck by the sheer size of the Hispanic population in this city. It's 41% of the labor force. The other thing that we were struck by is how young it is. A third of the Hispanic population is under the age of 18. Between the age of 18 and 44, you have over 40% of the population. Peak earnings doesn't have for another 20 years in your mid-60s. But what you see is this is the group, if we were to use that word group, but this is the population that's coming that's going to drive the future of the city. They're the ones.
So one of the things you talk about some things that I put up on a graphic here that talks about the population, which has grown almost 10% in the years between 2010 and 2021. When you have that kind of population growth, what does that say to you in terms of, and of course the labor force is made up by, the Hispanic population makes up almost 28% of the electorate in this metro area. That says a lot too, does it not, about not only business people but those who are in politics about what they need to do?
Absolutely, and we are a growing factor in these elections and will continue to be moving forward, and that's why we're happy to say that we saw so many people who are running for office, CEOs, influencers, and decision makers at the table because they understand that this community, the Hispanic community, is a viable, very important part of their success. And the call to action is to make sure that we are represented at all levels.
So when you, Dr. Granado, when you put this kind of information together, and Dr. Laura, you give it to these people, what do you hope that they would do? Do you analyze it as well? You just give them the stats and say, there it is? We
interpret some of it, but we want people to just be aware. Yes. I mean, this is coming. It's already here. I mean, there's other things I could talk about, and we don't have a lot of time, but I'm struck that in terms of, you look at other big cities, this city is still doing this. And a lot of those cities are having trouble. My hometown, Chicago, they have terrible problems in terms of the population's leaving. Not here. So this is where the action is. And it's also, this is a benchmark for what's going to happen in the rest of the United States.
Absolutely.
We are the start of something special.
And we are analyzing it with them individually and collectively. We've hosted CEO breakfasts to talk about this, the census and other data, because it's fact-driven. These are not opinions. This is information that will help them as they make decisions for hiring, for their investments, for opportunities. That is a win-win situation.
I noticed in some of the by the way, I want to make it available to everybody, the link to the report that you have, but I noticed too that the Hispanic growth in this community is not as fast as say, San Antonio, for example. They seem to have a faster growth, but everybody's growing. I mean, that's the undeniable fact. So it seems like this whole region and the United States needs to really start to keep that in mind as they start to make their plans going forward.
That's exactly right. I mean, the demographics are here. I mean, in terms of the growth, the youth is here in terms of the growth. And you're seeing other states, they're losing population, they're aging. I mean, again, the age factor here is very substantial. That's what's coming for this city, this county, and the state.
I noticed too, and I know what the chamber thinks about that. There's a breakdown in terms of income as well, and that out of the population here, you have a third of Hispanics. You talked about this as well, under the age of 18. 48% speak English well, 19.5% speak no English at all, which is a real signal for those people who want to do business in the Hispanic community. They have to make adjustments to make sure that they can make that group of constituents comfortable in whatever they're trying to offer.
And not only that, but the benefit of Hispanics who are here who are bilingual, trilingual, that's already built in when you think of customer service and all of the things that you're doing, that this is an international destination. We've got the World Cup just around the corner. Once again, the world is seeing Houston, and we can be that model of making sure that everyone has a seat at the table.
What can you glean from the numbers as it relates to the earnings of the Hispanic population?
Okay, that's a little complicated because of the age factor. So what we have right now, you have a younger population. So if you're 20, you're not going to be making as much as someone who has 40, right? And the white population in the Houston metropolitan area is 40, the median age. For Hispanics, it's 30. That's a 10-year gap. Think about when you were 30, when you're 40, what you were earning, the difference.
Yeah.
And so that kind of contaminates some of the. There's a gap about, I think, about $1,400. I think it's roughly that, and it's grown a little bit. But the factor there is the age. And so what you want to do is get data, and we were not able to get this at this point, but you control for age. So you have same age, and you make the difference, say, race or education, and you look and see if those differences vanish. And most of the time they do.
Do you look at this as also an indicator of how you, for example, the Great Houston Partnership had this program where they were letting people know, look, college is not for everybody. There's all this other areas you have to be trained for.
Yes.
This is a great opportunity as well to say, look, this is where the goal is, to try to go to this population that's here.
Yes.
That may not be going to college, but can do an awful lot of other things that can be beneficial to this community.
Absolutely. We're seeing in areas of tech and nursing and healthcare. And some of those require four-year degrees, others do not. And that's why we have so many partners in corporate America, in the educational system, to say, what do we need to do to prepare this community to serve the needs of this community?
This has been a great partnership with U of H and the Hobby School. What do you now hope is going to come from all of this? Once all of this is together, you're meeting with the CEOs.
Yes.
What's your goal now for the chamber, and what's going to be going on?
Well, the goal is to educate and make sure that we correct those misperceptions and that we provide them with facts and data so that they can make educated decisions to make sure that Hispanics are part of this fabric and not just a thread.
And the program that the information you have certainly is a way, you talk about misperceptions. This is the way you look at the data, that's the data. It's tough to argue with that,
right.
correct?
That's right. That's
Facts are facts. Thank you.
By the way, I'm always amazed how you come up off the top of your head. Well, I think there's a difference between a 1,500. A lot of stuff is in that brain of yours. You know that, right? But it's good stuff as well. So thank you for what you're doing for this organization, because that makes us all better. By the way, their polls are amazing, too, for the mayor's race and all kinds of other stuff if you're interested in politics as well. So it'll be great. I'm going to put a very comprehensive report. I'm going to put a link to it on my Newsmakers page on click2houston.com. Dr. Murillo, Dr. Granato, thank you so much for this valuable information. Good luck going forward.